So it was 2020, it's 2025. It was 5 years ago. I had just gotten back from Florida, and I was driving the car with my dad, and we were listening to the news in Florida about this virus, and it had taken over Spain, and there was different stuff. And so we get back, I get back to Yukon, they get back to where they're from, and by the time we get back, COVID is full on. And I think I had only preached 1 or 2 weeks coming back from vacation in March or end of February, and everything got shut down and everything went crazy. Now at the time, I'm sure you remember, it was 3 weeks to flatten the curve, and I thought 3 weeks, no problem. And I had made a decision at that point, okay, 3 weeks, this is going to be one of these seasons. I'm rested up from vacation. I was ready to rock, and I'm just going to go hard for 3 weeks. And so I did. Well, then, as we know, the 3 weeks, turned into a couple months, and then it was going to be 3 months to flatten the curve. And after that 3 weeks, we had kind of figured out how to do online, doing different stuff. But we didn't have a tech crew, and we didn't have any of that stuff kind of built up. And I had done some video work, and I knew enough that's like, okay, that's okay. I'm going to be doing this, but then I'm going to edit and upload this content to make sure everyone has it. And at that early time, because there was so much church content, so much gospel content hitting the internet, people that wouldn't normally go to church are viewing it, so there was great potential there. It was, at the time, really exciting. Kind of fearful, but really exciting. We just didn't know anything. And I just thought, this is one of these seasons where I'm gonna work. But then it kept getting longer and longer and longer. And there was definitely some times where I was like, I probably should slow this down. But I don't know, I was enjoying it. I loved my job, and there was all sorts of different things. There was people writing in online that I didn't know, and I was interacting with people in our congregation and from all over, and it was exciting. It was great. I was having a good time. Yeah, I would take days off and different things. And I remember a couple specific events where it got to the very bottom, where I was so out of balance. I had started uploading the videos, and we had done all the editing, and it was at night. It must have been, I can't even remember what day of the week, but it was like 11 at night, maybe midnight, and I was still at church trying to get it uploaded, and it was taking, it was really slow, and I was like, okay. And then I said to myself, I was like, I'm just going to I'll take a little nap, because it'd be another hour probably. I'll take a nap in the nursery, and then it'll be, then I'll go home and it'll be done. And of course, at that time, I'm spending so much time in the church. The church had better internet than my house, and so I was doing it here. And the first wake-up call was when I woke up in the nursery, and it was the next day. And I was like, what is going on? And I had just taken a little nap, but I actually slept in the nursery on the couch the whole night. I was like, this is not good. And luckily it was early enough. Nicole had gone to bed knowing I was uploading videos, and I managed to get home before she had woken up. But then it was like, so I spent the night at the church. She's like, that's not good. No, that's not good. And I remember at that time feeling like really overwhelmed. That was shocking to me that had happened to me, because I kind of, I think, prided myself on work-life balance, and it was all out of balance, but kept going, kept working. And things were getting hard, and the church was going through some changes too. There was some personal things I was working through. And then it was like, we're taking a weekend off. We're going to Marsh Lake, you're shutting this down. And so we go to Marsh Lake, we're setting up the camper, and the boys are, acting crazy and building fires and running amok. They're having a blast. And all of a sudden I had this terrible panic come over me. And I was saying to Nicole, we need to get the boys in the camper right now. There's mosquitoes. And she's like, well, since when have you cared about mosquitoes? And she's just like laughing, like, what are you talking about? And in my head, when I think back to it now, in my head, for sure, as true as we're sitting here today, I really believe that their life was in danger because there was bugs at Marsh Lake. And I am panicking with Nicole, begging her to get the boys in the camper to protect them. And she's just like, okay, you know what? Do you want to just go to the beach? Let's just go to the beach. What's going on, Jeremy? Okay, yeah, let's go to the beach. So we're like, hey boys, we're going to the beach. They come in the camper, so they're safe. They get on their swim stuff, and we head to the beach. We lay down, I get laid down, and she's like, you gotta relax. Like, you're losing it here. And, yeah, I gotta relax. And then the boys start going in the water, and all of a sudden, the overwhelming fear, I said, we gotta get the boys out of the water, they're gonna drown. Now, we've probably all been to Marsh Lake. You can walk. It feels like a mile before it's past your knees. There was no risk. The boys swim well, and but I was like, you have to get them out of the water. And I'm like calling to the boys. And Nicole at this point is like, there is something seriously wrong with my husband. And so it was like, Jeremy, we should just go home. Let's just go home. Okay, yeah, let's go home. So we get home. And once I get home, all of a sudden, I guess, I don't know what happens in my mind, but I settle down and I realize, wow, that was real, but that was so not real. And I'm reconciling that my brain was in such a panic and it was so exhausted that it was creating these fictitious, scary events that weren't even real. So, came clean to the church board about what was going on, the nursery, the different things. I went to, thankfully I have an old friend who's a psychotherapist and counselor, who's a Christian, and he explained kind of what was going on. And basically you get to the point where you've exhausted yourself so much that your brain forces your body to shut down. And it happens in different ways for different people. But for me, however my brain works, it was like if we can create so much fear in Jeremy, we can get him to stop and just sit at home for a while. And so that's what happened. So it started, I was given 3 weeks stress leave by the church. Thankfully, they were so gracious. And then I started some intensive counseling. I did a spiritual retreat, a couple of those where I just took no technology, no nothing, and just a guitar and my Bible and a journal, and went away to a cabin for a few days. And there was a whole pile of stuff. But started that journey of recovery and started really trying to figure out what was wrong with me, what happened. Burnout, anxiety attacks, panic attacks, that is all related to work. And it turns out it can happen to anyone. It's not just a pastor thing. It's not a nurse thing. It's not a teacher thing. It's not a mechanic thing. It doesn't matter where you work, but you can get to the point where you work your body so much that for whatever reason, God has designed us that our bodies will shut us down eventually, which is kind of like a blessing and a curse all wrapped into one. And that also started an intensive study into Scripture and our created bodies and what our forefathers in Christianity knew about Sabbath rest and everything, and what we lost in the new covenant and when we're free from the law, and what happened in Western culture when we abandoned the law. We also abandoned a lot of the good things of the law that Jesus wanted us to now take on as a gift, not as a rule. And there's all these different things that we're going to unpack today for you, and you're going to unpack it in your own life. You're going to reflect. Each of you are going to be able to tell your different stories and groups and things. Lo and behold, it gets to the point where I get to full recovery and doing amazing now. I actually just came off vacation. I started to learn how to have my evenings better, started to learn how to enjoy my weekends better, started to learn how to take holidays better, 3-day, 4-day weekends better, started to learn how to vacation better. And then it got to the point where I was given the opportunity to do a 3-month sabbatical. And that was kind of the pinnacle, and went even deeper because I had all this time to study Sabbath. Rolling forward, I'm currently also doing master's work, and this actually leads up to a theological paper that I did for my master's degree on Sabbath rest in modern Western culture. And out of that, I had to do a practical part where I teach people. And so the content of that major paper is actually why we're here today. So that was a big story, but I wanted to make sure I gave you the full background of the bottom and now getting to the top where Jesus has brought me, and hopefully we'll be able to journey through this together. At the end of this, my prayer and hope is that you'll be able to rest in the evenings and sleep well. You'll be able to take weekends well. When those long holiday weekends come, you'll be able to do that well. You'll be able to vacation well. And maybe if you can arrange it with your contracts and employers and however that works, and plan ahead or save money or figure it out, that maybe even you'd be able to plan in your 7th year of work, be able to take extended time off and learn how to take sabbatical, which is also a biblical principle.